At an antiques fair, it's easy to walk past incredible pieces without even realising it. I'm a full-time antiques dealer. In this video, I'll show you 12 pieces I chose at the Builth Wells Antiques Fair which stood out to me. I'll share the stories and the lessons you can use next time you're out buying. So just before I show you those 12 pieces that I bought, I want to give you a bit of context around the fair because it was actually a last minute decision for me to go up. I wasn't going to go because if you follow my videos, a couple back I explained a big change to UK sellers who export any items out to the US. New duties have been applied. It's made business very difficult. So my business has slowed down. I wasn't sure if I should go out to an antiques fair and spend a load of money on new stock. However, my desire got the best of me. I wanted to go. I wanted to see what was out there. So I went up anyway. However, I went with a very strict. I went with a bit budget in mind that was strict at the beginning of the day. I'd blown it by the end of the day. So it goes to show how much good stuff is there at the fair. And if you watch the videos of me walking around, you'll see that I am walking around quite quickly. I am a bit tentative because I was a bit, I was thinking about, should I spend that money on that? Should I wait until I see something else? All that sort of stuff. So all that was going on, just to give you a bit of context. So these things I'm going to show you now, I want to talk to you around a few things. I want to talk to you around why I bought them, why they stood out to me, and what I believe the value is going to be. And hopefully it means that when you go to a fair next time, it gives you a few ideas. You're not going to buy the same things as me, but just knowing how I process things and how I make decisions might help you. So I'm going to start off with a couple of things that I consider kind of safe bets. They're items I've had before. I know their value from previous sales, and I saw them at a good price at the fair. So here's the first one, something that's very local to me. It's a very small miner's lamp, and this is an E. Thomas and Williams miner's lamp. You can see there the plate, which gives you all the details. It's numbered and it tells you the makers, E. Thomas and Williams. It's Cambrian type, made it for Aberdare in South Wales. Now the thing about miner's lamps is you get them, I'm from part of the world, South Wales. This is close to me, where this is from. Where mining is part of our DNA. It's so important to the local communities. A lot of our local communities or the villages and towns were built. In fact, Cardiff became the city it is today, the capital city of Wales, because of that coal mining and the ports they had where they were exporting out to the world. So it's a very important thing. A lot of collectors locally, but what a lot of people don't realise about miners' lamps is that they're not just collected in the UK, in the areas where mining was a big part of the community. They're actually collected across the world. I know of collectors in Japan who buy these items and they put them up. They've got these huge collections. They get them working again. Now, a lot of people see these smaller miner lamps. This is only a 6-incher in height, and they don't think they're as valuable as the bigger ones. In fact, it is the other way around. These are more sought after, they are rarer, and actually only a couple of years ago, I was selling these on eBay for like £200 each. They have dropped a little bit, and I now have priced this one up at £110. So that was my first buy. That cost me, I bought this one and the next thing for a combined £50. Let's say that's £25. I've now got it priced at £110. I think that's a very good price for it. And I have a benefit because I sell on my own website, taliesinantiques.com. Go and check it out if you haven't seen already. I can ship this internationally. If you sell on eBay, you're not able to. And I know this because I've had buyers contact me from other countries saying, even when I had global shipping program on, why can't I buy this item? Why is it only available in the UK? It's because eBay put a block on certain items going through their shipping program, and old oil lamps are one of them. So there we go. That is a benefit. I should be able to sell that on my website. There is actually no reason you can't ship that. It's just one of those eBay rules. So this is the second thing I bought. Remember, that was £25. This is £25. I bought them together. If you have a look at that, that's an old enamel sign. There's the back of it. You can see the aging and rusting on the back. So a very nice enamel sign, painted over, and as you can see, it's quite a harsh image. Now this is actually Polish. Comes from that communist Soviet era, 1950s, 1960s, and I believe it translates to "do not touch electrical device." When you look these up, a lot of people sell them as being from prisoner of war camps in World War II. I've got no evidence for that to prove that to be true. I think these are from the Soviet era. And I priced this at £75. As I said, I've had one of these before. This is the second one I've had. So I'd already done that research. When I spotted it, I kind of knew the price range. So it just seemed like a good deal to buy these together to me. Now, a lot of people collect items from the communist era, Soviet era, because the imagery and the way they position their language is a lot different. As you can see, this is quite a harsh sign. It's no messing about. They're not trying to sugarcoat what happens if you touch that device. So there we go. It's a really nice old enamel sign, and these were two safe bets, items I've had before and knew the value of and saw a good deal. Now, when I'm going to an antiques fair and I'm buying items, of course I'm doing that so I can make a profit on them. However, the reason I buy items goes far deeper than that. I have my own website, and what I try and do on that website is make it an interesting place for people to go to, even if they're not going to buy an item, just to see the items and learn about them. And to do that, I need to buy things which are going to interest people. And this is one of those items. This is a qalamdan, it's known as. And it's a scribe or pen box. As you can see, that would go in there. And then there's an inkwell there. Now, if you have a look at that, it is an absolutely stunning object. This is all silver inlay. And what you have there is copper inlay. So you've got copper inlay hearts, you've got what is known as arabesque patterns, and then you have this Islamic calligraphy. So this is a beautiful thing. It's 19th century, certainly. It could go early to mid 19th century. If you look at the nails, they're all hand wrought, hand hammered. And this style of decoration on metalwork in the Islamic world has a few different names. The actual process is known as Damascus, which is the inlay process. The style has been referred to as Mamluk revival. So this goes to, it's a revival of the Mamluk style. Mamluks were ruled effectively a lot of the Islamic world for many years. I think that goes back to kind of the Crusades time, just after it certainly. And they were known for their incredible artwork, and this was revived in the 19th century in centres like Damascus in Syria and in Egypt. It's also been referred to as Cairo ware because it was done in Cairo a lot as well. So yeah, this is a sought after object because these qalamdans, or I think it's known as a divit as well, are very popular with collectors. You get a few different ones. It's rare to see one with this amount of inlay and this amount of work. And when I saw it, I knew I was going to have to buy it. Now, there was a bit of to and fro. I wanted to get a better deal on it. I did end up buying it close to what the dealer was asking for, at £45. I have this up at £200, which is I think a very good price for such a scarce and interesting object. I say with this inlay, the amount of work and the history around it, very happy to have bought this. I am thinking of making a video around Islamic metalware and what to look for when you're out buying. If that's something that does interest you, please let me know, because it'll be good to know that there is interest out there. I'm now going to go on to the next item I bought, and this kind of grabbed my eye. If you watched the video, you would have seen how I just walked up to it, walked away, walked back up to it. I thought it was just a stunning piece. So have a look at this. Oh, there we go. I know there's a bit of gleam, so I'll put up a picture. Yeah, this is an amazing. It is just a sign, right? It was made as a useful item. What this says is Allanfa? Yeah, Allanfa, which is exit in Welsh. And this was up in, let me have a look. It was up in Plas Nanteos mansion, which is near Aberdare. It's an old country house from the 18th century that was later turned into a hotel around the 1950s, and this would have been there all the way back to then. It might have even been a little bit earlier. If you look at the frame, it's clear, look, the frame is clearly very aged. But yeah, I actually think it's just one of those pieces that was made for a functional reason, and it would have sat there in the mansion for many years. Many guests would have seen it. However, it's just got that beauty around it. Deep blue, and then just the gold paint and the white sort of sign writer language typing that's done on there. It's just spot on to me. It's clear as day. The colours just work. I thought that looked amazing. Now, what I always look for and what I like to go home with when I'm buying are one-offs. you know, I'm the only one who has one of these available. This was the most expensive item I spent on. I bought it for, I think in the end I paid £130 for it, and I've decided to put a price of £275 on there. There's a nice profit on there, but in actual fact, I just think it's one of those really lovely pieces that a lot of people are going to look at, and I don't think I'm going to have much trouble selling this one. So if you watch my videos, you'll know I have a big interest in having items from across the world. I love the stories they tell and just having peculiar objects that come from different cultures and share those stories and histories and traditions. So I've got, what I bought from the fair were quite a few pieces from the African continent. Here is the first example. Now this is clearly an elephant mask. It comes from the Guro people who were mainly in what is now modern day the Ivory Coast, and they spread out, but they were also part of other areas such as Ghana. The person I bought this from said they believed this was from Ghana. So it's a Guro masquerade mask from what is known as the G masquerade, which is a ceremony where they use different zoomorphic, so animal based masks, because they represent different things. Now the elephant, I believe, is around representing power and authority. You can see the holes here is where raffia or fibres would have hung from. It's a really nicely carved, interesting piece. Now, when it comes to African masks, I don't tend to worry too much about the age of them, because the majority of them are going to be from the mid 20th century or later. And yes, that does mean they were probably made for the tourist market. Now, I've spoken before about this in my previous videos, that the use of the word tourist market in the antiques trade is not something that I agree with. In the way it's used, not in the accuracy of it, because I think it's used in kind of a diminishing way, which suggests that the artwork is not any good because of why it was made. Now, most antiques that people buy from across the world, European or elsewhere, were made for the same reason, were made for commercial reasons. If this was made to be sold, I haven't got a problem with that, as long as it is of high quality and it is representing that part of the, that part of the world, that tradition, that culture. You do see masks which don't do that. They are just generically made. They are made purely for quick sales to the souvenir market. This is in one of them. I believe it was made by the people who represented this. I'm not ruling out that it was used, but I just don't get that feeling from it. What I should also highlight is, if you do get ritual ones, they are very rare to find, and of course the value reflects that. Now, here you have, there is a bit of a crack there. There is some aging to the mask in the back. However, it's a beautifully decorative item, for me anyway. I know it's an acquired taste. I think the spirit and the meaning behind it is fantastic, and that's why I bought it. So I bought this and another pair of items I'm going to show you in a second for a combined £130, I believe. I value this at £200, and that's what it's up for on my website. I'll now show you the next pair of items I bought from the same seller. Okay, so here are the next two pieces I bought from the same seller. Again, from the African continent. These are from a different area and different people, though. These are Yoruba people carvings. As you can see, very intricately carved and made, very decorative. They have those shells on there as well. A bit of raffia. There's the bottom there, and there's the other one. Again, very similar in style. Now, I got a feeling straight away that they were the Yoruba people who were based in southern Nigeria mainly, just because I've done research on African art before. In fact, I've done another video on understanding African art if you want to go back and watch it, and the Yoruba people came up. What I didn't realise is this is actually one of the two of the Ibeji twin figures. When I looked them up, that seemed to be what these are likely representing. Now, one of the many interesting things about the Yoruba people is that they have one of the highest rates of twins in terms of birth rate in the world. And because of that, twins are particularly revered, and there is a close spiritual connection between the two twins. So if one were to pass away, there's usually a carving made of the other. Sometimes they make a pair of carvings to represent two of them. Now, I feel this may be, I see these as two twin carvings, a male and a female. Highly decorative. When I bought them, I actually thought they were potentially terracotta or clay, but I think they are actually just a very hard wood, very intricately carved. They are quite heavy actually for their size. Really rare, interesting things. Hard to find, usually quite hard to find a pair of them, especially this intricately well done. So these actually have a high value. One issue I had on one of them, which was these fibers are actually quite old. Actually helped age them. And unfortunately one of the, what is that actually? Like one of the shells just fell off basically, that's all that happened. So when I do sell them, I will send a shell with it in case someone wants to reattach it in some way. But yeah, there we go. They was a really nice find actually. When I bought them, I thought I bought them as more decorative, but they've turned out actually to be really good finds. These I have priced up at £300 for the pair, which all my prices are based on research of other sold examples. I use eBay's TerraPeak service, which you can only use if you have a shop with eBay, which shows you the actual sold prices from the last 3 years. But I also look at old auction listings and sold results from there as well. So I do a lot of research into my prices to try and put them in a fair place. So there we go, really nice finds. I've actually got a couple more African pieces, which I'm going to show you towards the end of the video that I bought. Before that, I'm going to show you a couple that I bought together. And here we have this very interesting bowl. If you have a look at that glaze there, really nicely done. Now, when I bought this, up until the point when I got it home, I thought it was a Chinese example. I thought it was a hair fur glaze, which actually is an ancient technique that was used. But I do know that it was revived in the 19th century in China, and I thought that's what this was. And it would have been a very nice piece had it been. When I got home, I noticed something when I looked closer, which is, if you see that signature there. Now that threw me because I wasn't expecting to see that. It's not something you tend to see kind of inscribed into the clay, a one character mark for a Chinese piece. I did some more digging into it and I've found out that actually this isn't Chinese. It's not from the 19th century and it's certainly not ancient. This is a Japanese studio pottery piece, probably from the mid 20th century. It is known as tenmoku glaze, so it's this like iron black with these russet marks, and it's known as a chawan or a teabowl. It's not a bad buy necessarily, even if that were the case. Don't know if I would have gone for it, if I'm being honest, had I had known that or realised that at the time. I didn't look carefully enough to see that signature, only because this seller had quite a few oriental pieces. So I had as I mentioned earlier, it was a bit of a restricted budget. Couldn't buy a lot of them. I chose this one thinking it would be the most interesting one had it been what I thought it was. However, it wasn't. Realised when I got home. Nice piece. If I can identify the maker, which I've not been able to yet, then I might be able to add a bit more value to this one. For what it is, it's still a nice piece. These studio pottery bowls from Japan are still highly sought after, big collector's market. I put the price of £95 on this one. Now I believe this one and the next object came to a combined £70. The other thing I bought from this gentleman was something totally different, which was this. A lot smaller. Get a close-up of that. Now this is a little Indian miniature bronze. You may have been able to spot already that the figure is Ganesh, and it's known as a Voiture figure. 19th century certainly. So it's a bronze work that's been done through what is known as the lost wax technique, which is a technique of bronze waxing, which is you do find during the older period because it involved creating a clay sculpture around it, then pouring the wax in and letting it all flow out. These little miniature bronzes, very popular in Indian history. They have quite a long history, going right back to the 13th century, I believe. And they were used on personal shrines, they were used in temples, and one of Ganesh like this is a particularly interesting one. He's in a specific pose where he's holding the broken tusk. Now if you look into the story of Ganesh, a very raw, powerful story about how he turned into an elephant head, why he had the elephant head put upon him, which was when he came back from war, accidentally killed a family member. This, I believe, was the punishment implanted on him. I've not done that story justice. Have a look into it, but it's a very interesting story and a very interesting history there of this piece as well. So there we go. I was very happy to buy that. These little Indian bronzes often get overlooked. I know that it's a very nice piece. I priced this one at £110, I believe. Yeah, just checking my website. There we go. So £110 plus £95. I'd paid a combined £70. So good deals. This was a particularly interesting one. I was very happy to buy this. The bowl is a nice piece. It was nice to learn about it, and it helped build my knowledge, I suppose, for when I'm out and about and being able to spot and identify items better. So I have a couple of star buys, which I haven't even shown you yet, but this is one of them. This is an incredible sculpture. Chinese in origin. I'm going to hold it as best I can. Look at the size of that. Beautifully carved, this hardwood base. I love, you know it's good quality when they get the flowing robes so well, and then you look at the face and it's just done to intricate detail. And have a look at this rootwood like seat it has made for it as well. Such an impressive size. This is of course Chinese. It is one of the 8 Immortals. This one is actually an immortal that you don't see too often depicted. So Zhongli Quan, who you can tell it's him because of this green kind of feather fan that he has, and that is, I believe, used in the Taoist traditions, could resurrect the dead. Such a stunning piece. This is a work of art, right? And it's not something you see very often. I saw it, and it was towards the end of my day. I got there early, but it was towards the end of the day, so I got to the store and thought, how is that still there? In fact, this was on Alistair's store from Yoruba Ere Antiques, of course, from Salvage Hunters now, and I spoke to him quite a bit. He said he comes from a house where the guy had a few Oriental pieces. I gutted I ran out of money at this point because there were some amazing things on that store. This being one of them, I was very happy to go home with this. An absolutely epic sculpture. In terms of age, I believe it to be early 20th century, maybe a little bit later than that. Doesn't really matter when the quality is this good. And I say it's a rare depiction. This is perfect for the Chinese collection because the chances of you having one of these, or anyone you know having one of these, is very slim. This is one of those one-offs. A little bit of damage to the hand where it's been glued back on. Not obvious, not bothered about that at all. And I bought this item along with another one for a combined £150. This one I value at £395. I think that's a good price for it. For such a one-off piece. You wouldn't believe how heavy that sculpture is. I know it's big, but it's all hardwood, so it's actually heavier than you thought. I'm still recovering. The next piece, as I say, I got this as a combined £150. This is an incredible piece of folk art. So folk art means it's made by often an amateur, kind of a one-off, and not a trained artist, and it's just usually made for a specific reason. Now have a look at this. This is a wood carved ram's head on, again, kind of a rootwood base. Now I don't believe, this one I don't believe to be Chinese, even though the last thing we showed you was a rootwood based. This one is, I think, European. Very difficult to nail down exactly where it comes from. Now but the depiction of this ram's head comes from the Roman times, where a lot of these were done in marble. It was a very powerful symbol in that culture, so it's neoclassical inspired, as you can see. Very well done. And to get these as part of £120, I thought was £150 as a combined. I thought it was such a good deal. I was so happy to be walking around home with that. The amount of work into this is exceptional. I think it's early 20th century. The one sign there is, if you see, there's like a hand hammered. It must be like a pewter nail in there. Interesting. Which suggests to me that it's earlier. It could be 19th century as well. Absolutely stunning work of art in my opinion. I've only seen one similar thing sold at an auction, which again was a folk art piece. It wasn't exactly the same with this, but it was a kind of wood carved ram, and that went for £200, plus the commission on top of that. So I put this up £150. I'm happy with that price, and I think that's a good piece. And that is, if you like that neoclassical style, if you like unique pieces of folk art, you would absolutely love this. Okay, so the final two pieces, and I was very excited to be coming home with these two. This is not going to be to everyone's taste, but surely you find this an interesting thing. Look at this now. Of course, it's an African mask. It's from the Songye people, and it's known as a Kifwebe. Yeah, so it's associated to the Bwadi Kifwebe association, and it's used in a lot of ceremonies, rituals, funerals. it's a mask which is associated very much with the Songye people. I have another one of these. It is different. I think it's a little bit later than this one, and that is a male version. This is actually based on as a female version of this mask. You can see the patina, the wear, just clearly the age of this item. Believe it to be mid to early 20th century. I think it's earlier than a lot of the masks that you will see. The person I bought it from is a very good African art dealer, and he actually mounts a lot of his items on these useful stands. Obviously, one of the issues you have with masks is that a lot of them have to be wall hanging, but he mounts them really well, so you can actually just stand that up as a decorative item. So yeah, really beautiful piece to me. I know a lot of people go, what are you on about beautiful? What I find beautiful in this is just the quality of the carving and the story and the representation. So a very good thing for me to add again into my collection of African art. This turned out to be a very rare thing. If you watch the video of when I'm buying this, the dealer who I bought it from was saying himself that he'd never seen one of these before. That is someone who's spent a lot of years, many years, learning and dealing in African art. And here it is. So it's a staff, and it's an unusual thing, certainly to look at straight away. This has such an amazing amount of history to it and meaning behind it. So it comes from the Lobi people, based primarily in Burkina Faso, and it's known as a diviner's staff. It's obviously carved in wood, of course, and there is some wood carving there, but then it's wrapped in leather. And it's a zoomorphic, so what is meant by that is it has an animal association. In this case, it's an antica or an aardvark, and then it's mixed with human features. Yes, they were used by what are known as diviners, and these were known as conduits between the spiritual world and the human world. And this had a very strong ritual connection, used in ceremony, but is also sometimes stuck into the ground. And yeah, it just has it's when they're performing their rituals and they're talking about the spirits. Of course, in a lot of African cultures, that is a lot more important than you would find in a lot of Western cultures. This is what I find so fascinating about these objects, is just the different human stories and the cultures and traditions that you learn about when you buy an item like this and look into them. Fascinating piece, very nicely done actually. You know, it's not just done on a whim, this piece. A lot of care and attention has gone into the carving, the decoration, the leather wrapping, and it's got that age about it as well. Old rope there. It's a really nice piece. When I looked into this, there were examples sold. Seen one that was sold for over like thousands of pounds. I thought a fair price for this one was £395, and that's what it's up for on my website. Absolutely love coming in with these one-off pieces, and this is one of the few, certainly the only one that looks like this now available online. Now the combined price for this and the Songye mask was £170. There we are, good return. And the great thing about this dealer, so Tribal Space was the name of the dealer. He did a very nice thing, and he gave me a gift, something for free, because I'd spent a bit of money with him, and it's this amazing fertility, I believe it's Lobi again, slingshot. So what a fascinating thing. I'm not looking to sell that, I haven't even looked into it. It will just sit there as part of my personal collection because I got it as a gift. I think I like to treasure the gifts, and they're good memories of why I did this, get into the antiques trade, that is. So there we go, there are my 12 items. Please let me know what you think, leave a comment. Would you have bought them? I'm sure the answer is no to a few of them, but would you have bought any of them? Let me know if you would have done. And what do you think about my process? Did you watch the other two films where I'm actually walking around the fair? Tell me what you thought about them. In fact, I had quite a bit of interest and feedback on that. It had a lot of good views and a lot of good feedback, but there were a few comments where people weren't happy with the footage. A few thumbs downs on it, which actually caught me off guard. A lot of people didn't like the speed that I was walking around with. One person said, don't even bother making that film if you're going to go that fast. I don't agree with that, because I think a lot of people did get a lot out of it, and you can see plenty. I appreciate though there might be frustrating for parts of it. You're like, I want to see that, and I'm just walking past it really fast. The reason for that is because I wanted to give my point of view. I'm not there to, I don't make a lot of money from these, I don't make any money from these YouTube videos, so I can't primarily focus on the footage and standing there and taking up a lot of time to make it a picturesque shot. I decided I'm filming as I'm going, and you'll see my point of view. Hopefully it was of interest. So there we go. That's how I do things. If it's not for you, I understand. It's not going to be for everyone. If it is, you know, I appreciate you watching and the support you're giving. Hopefully if it's not for you, you can watch these haul videos and still get something useful out of them anyway. So yeah, Builth Wells Antiques Fair, absolutely loved it. It's the first time I've gone to that antiques fair actually, even though it's relatively close by. I will definitely be going again. I thought the mix of the dealers, the interesting items, and the prices actually were really good for both a collector and a dealer to go and have a really good day and do really well there. And I think what I learned is that you do have to be a bit flexible with your budget. If you're going with what I was trying to spend around £500, you're going to struggle to do that. You can see so many stuff that you think that you can get a good profit on that you're going to be thinking, I got to spend more, I got to buy that. It's a difficult place to go and, you know, keep yourself on a low budget. I would recommend taking the trolley. If you're a dealer, it's a lot better. I did a couple of trips to this car, and as you can see, I had some heavy things with me, so they weren't nice walks. But yeah, get there early, I would say, on the Saturday, even though it's more expensive than the next day on the Sunday. I'd suggest getting there early, take your time. I love the vibe of that fair, right? It wasn't, if you follow my videos, you'll see I go to a lot of boot sales usually. That's where I'd get a lot of my stock. They are full on, rushing around, you know, people whizzing in and out, you know, people shouting, all that sort of stuff. You didn't get out of the fair. It was a nice casual atmosphere, which I really enjoyed. So I'll be doing a lot more fairs in future. I'll try and film them wherever I can. I can certainly do some haul videos trying to explain why I bought the items I did. Anyway, that's it today. I thank you for watching. Go back and have a look at my other videos if you haven't before. If you got this far, hopefully you are interested enough to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done already, it's free to do. You click the button, it helps my channel grow, helps me to keep making this content, and it does help if you leave a like and a comment as well for the video. Just tells YouTube that it's decent content. There we go. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the future. All the best. Goodbye now.